Hello, dear ones. You're an important part of the family. You're at home with Jim and Joy. There's nothing like your participation, so we want you to email us, jimandjoy@EWTN.com, or send us a tweet, EWTN #JimandJoy. You also can call in right now with your questions, your comments. You're part of the family. Don't be afraid. Call on in, 205-271-2980, or toll free, 800-221-9460. The phone lines are open. We're always talking life, marriage, family, the season of Advent. And by the way, we're your center for the World Meeting of Families that's taking place in Philadelphia from September 22nd through the 27th, 2015. And you can get involved by hosting a family. Yes, hosting a family. If you live in the Philadelphia region, you can open your home to travelers and provide a spare room for a small nightly fee. This is a great opportunity to provide for visitors an affordable trip and experience in Philadelphia, right in your home. You can go online for more information. It's worldmeeting2015.org, worldmeeting2015.org. And my beloved wife of 37 years, Joy, you're going to bring us into more fully the Advent season. You've got something from Religious Catalog.
I do, and we have this fabulous DVD, and it's called My Time with Jesus, and it's about these 4 little precious children who take a journey in time, and they wound up going back to the nativity scene, and they have a great encounter, and they learn all about nativity and St. Francis. So it's absolutely wonderful. There are so many things that you can purchase at the Religious Catalog. All you need to do is go to EWTN.Religious Catalog, and you could, it's EWTNReligiousCatalog.com. You go there and do your shopping. If there are things that you need, if you have grandchildren coming over and you want to continue to keep Christmas important, centered, you want to unify everybody, this is a great DVD to get, and they have great gifts for all of your children and all of your grandchildren and other family members. So go EWTNRC.com and do your shopping. Well, it is the second week in Advent, so blessed Advent to everybody.
And Joy, we had an experience with our Advent wreath.
We did.
And so I wanted to bring the wreath up here from our other room. And it's just so important, the devotion that takes place around the wreath. And I don't want everybody to think that we gather around the wreath like all day long. You know, Jim and Joy, that's what they do.
We do it morning coffee.
But we do it in the morning. And sometimes it's really hard. We're as busy as anybody out there. And I went to light the Advent wreath. You know, we light it and we say, Jesus is the light of the world. And Jesus is the light of the world. And then I shut my eyes to pray. And you said, Jim, the candle's out, relight the candle. And so one of the candles had gone out, and I was like, what? You know, like, what's the story with this candle?
We couldn't sing until the second candle.
I was a little ticked off about it, you know. But I took the candle out, and I got a pretty sharp knife and trimmed back the wick, you know, the wax from it that was kind of like suffocating it.
Well, first you said, where'd we get these candles?
Where'd we get these candles?
And I said, we got them at Religious Catalog.
Yeah, there we go. But, you know, I thought of that verse that says, you know, a smoldering wick he will not quench, a bruised reed he will not break. A smoldering wick our Lord will not quench. Put that wax back, lit that candle. I was proud of the candle, it went up. And there was a lesson in that, you know, to see it differently. It wasn't just a bad candle, it was a candle that needed some trimming.
Right.
And, you know, I just thought that's the kind of Lord that we have who's coming to us. Jesus is coming in this season. This little child is coming. The Messiah is coming. And whatever's going on in your life, you might feel like you're smoldering and that your flame is about to go out. Christ is a healer. He's attracted to our weaknesses. He's coming to us. Let us make time to be ready for the coming of this compassionate, tender, loving Lord. Oh, how he loves you. He will not break you, and he will not blow out your candle. He's here for you. He loves you. He's attracted to our weaknesses. So we're heading to a break right about now. When we come back, we're joined by our guests, David and Trish Nevarez. The phone lines are open. You can share your questions and your comments. Give us a call, 205-271-2980 or 800-221-9460. You're an important part of the family. You're at Home with Jim and Joy. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are at Home with Jim and Joy, and you're a part of the family, and we want to hear from you. So email us, jimandjoy@EWTN.com, or send us a tweet at EWTN, #JimandJoy. And you can also call in right now with your questions or your comments. The number is 205-271-2980, or toll free 800-221-9460. The phone lines are open, so please give us a call. Well, at home today, we want to welcome David and Trish Nevarez, David has developed a website called CatholicSingles.com. But you be single no more, right?
No,
okay, and so it worked.
It worked.
And so we want you to tell our listening audience all about, first of all, yourselves, and about CatholicSingles.com, how you two met, and tell your beautiful story.
Well, the site, I started back in '97, so it's been 17, 18 years just about. And my background was that I grew up Catholic my whole life. As a kid, I went to Catholic grade school, high school, and very involved in my Catholic Newman Club in college. And the impetus really was once I got out of college, the dating pool had dried up a bit, you know. And that really kind of sparked something. I looked online. There were a few sites, Christian, that were starting to develop, but very few Catholics on them. And I guess the Holy Spirit came and just said, you know, why not? So I decided to start it, and it's something that has really grown into this ministry, really, at this point. And we've got Catholics from all over the place, different ages, and then Trish and I met on the site ourselves.
That's unusual,
yes.
right?
Yeah, well,
Founder of a site.
Yeah.
And you
Well, he had first picking, so he got to see, right? Did you get to see her before you released her?
Well, no, because I know, David, we don't advise people not to put pictures, but I didn't put a picture
Right,
up.
right.
And
Well, she did have a picture up, but it was a long shot of her on a trapeze.
well,
Far
she looked like a little ant on there.
Why did you?
so what? Well, that's the one I sent you. But so what happened was a friend of mine also met on a site and encouraged me to go on, and I dabbled and I put up a profile, and I wasn't sure that this was going to be something for me, and I really just kind of wrote a little essay, and I didn't have the picture up right away.
Not right away.
No.
Eventually. Yeah.
So nobody wrote me. I guess they, they look for the pictures first.
Of what could be a problem.
But I saw a little icon one day that said, "See who's looked at your profile." And one of the people who looked at my profile was David. Now, I had no idea that he had anything to do with the site. So I was just really learning about him and reading about him. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about him, and I put it away, and I was like, I'm not really going to do this. And then I kept thinking about his profile and what he had to say. So I wrote him, and I said, look, I'm not sure I'm into this whole dating online thing. But, it seems like we have a lot in common. Maybe, and he liked amusement parks. And so I was like, maybe we can meet up for a day and just get a new friend or something like that. And he responded. So that was pretty cool.
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen.
Yeah, well, sort
it was
of.
Sight. It was sight unseen. I didn't send you that picture until
later.
Till right before we were going to meet at the amusement park. he said, well, it'd be nice to see what you look like.
Right. So I could find you.
Exactly.
Then I
She
said,
knew what I looked like.
Or you put a sign like at the airport.
Yeah, there you go.
Looking for Trish.
And so I sent him that picture, like he said, of me on a trapeze, like a little dot in the back.
But that's how, I mean, people have different ways that they
Yes.
first connect on the site, whether it's photos or whatever. They'll talk on the phone, that kind of thing. We just sort of hit it off. We talked a lot on the phone before we met.
We did.
And, you know.
So how long were you sharing online or by phone until you saw one another face to face?
It was probably a week or two at least.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask that. They go, how long should you have
right.
this online relationship before you actually meet someone?
Yeah.
And I usually try to encourage them, you know, not to, I mean, it depends on the distance, obviously.
Yeah.
You have some people that are going to the same parish and they meet right away. Other people live, you know, across the country, another state or whatever. I think a month is a good sort of middle ground.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people will be willing to travel and do the legwork to drive an hour and a half to see you rather than the other way around. But it depends. It depends how many phone calls you get in too, because a lot of times I think we spoke almost every day for the 2 weeks before we met.
We did.
Yeah, and that, you know, that's important because you email and you get a sense of somebody's personality through their writing and that thing, but you take it to the next level, you get on the phone, and then
you
go,
want to hear a voice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you want to meet them obviously as soon
right.
as you can. So
It's a tool, and with the goal of meeting that person, and whether it just sparks a new friendship or whether it sparks a romance and marriage, you know, that's wonderful. But the goal is to meet in person.
That's got it's got to be part of it.
Where did you meet again, and when did you find out really who he was? Not just Dave, but the creator.
Well, I told her the first day that we met, but we had met. We were in Southern California, so we went to the downtown Disney area.
So safe. That was such a great
I mean, that's another, we can get into the safety tips too.
We lived an hour and a half away.
Yeah, we were an hour and a half away. I was in Orange County, she was in LA. Lots of traffic. And we thought, well, this is good. This is sort of in the middle.
Right.
Nice public place, kind of fun. We talked about what we liked.
Yeah.
We both liked amusement parks and that kind of thing. And a lot of times I'll suggest, well, meet for drinks or coffee or whatever. And perfect, you know, they have all kinds of coffee bars and wine bars and all that kind of thing. So we just met, and you know, you can walk up and down and just.
Did you go on the roller coaster together?
We
not
didn't
the
go
first
in the
time.
park the first day.
Not the first time.
I was gonna say I was a little upset. I was like, I thought we were going to the park, and he was.
She wanted fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, she got a little fun there.
No, but we talked like we had known each other 20 years. It was effortless. Also, Dave and I are older. You know, you have anybody on the site from, you know, your 20s on up to your 80s. And David and I were in our 40s.
So you're saying really from 20s to 80s?
Oh,
yeah. I'd say the biggest age group where we start to see people come in are people who are out of college. So mid-20s, late 20s. But I'm going to say the state of what we do today, the online in particular, and not limited to that because single Catholics are everywhere, all age groups. But I'd say 30s, 40s, and 50s are really the majority of the people using our site and other sites like that.
30s, 40s, 50s.
Yeah, you know, not getting married when they're younger for whatever reason, and waiting, putting things off is kind of unfortunately the trend, for better or worse. So. Yeah, and you have people that have been married possibly before, had annulments, whatever the situation, widowed, and it's a resource that everybody really is getting used to at this point. There's more acceptance of this kind of thing, and it's you know, God bless it's working. Obviously, we have the Holy Father coming out. You know, everybody's interested in the internet and what the good it can do and bringing people together. So that's really part of what we do.
What does a profile look like? Like when someone says, "Oh, okay, I want to get involved. I want to put myself out there."
Is that where it starts, making a profile? Or
yes, and I do encourage pictures. Do not do what
Don't be so funny like you.
Nobody wrote me, so I had no.
But you did pique David's interest.
I did. You know, I took a leap of faith, and I.
Well,
I put
and just
that
to be
out
fair,
there.
some people wait a little bit till they correspond, and you can send someone a photo through the site. However, as you know, we're in this digital age. A lot of people want to put a name to the face and everything. So you know,
and while we're
it
talking
does
about
pique your interest. You got to have that component.
Yeah, while we're talking about photos, and when you do put a photo, you can put multiple photos, not just one. First of all, it's your calling card. Smile. You'd be surprised how many people put up a photo and they're like, you know, you're just like, okay, I'm going to call you.
Is she going to be
So, you know, put your best foot forward.
Well,
put a picture with some friends in there. If you have an animal, a picture of you and your animal, let them get to know you through this picture collage as well as through the essays and the questionnaire that David can tell you more about.
Well, I was going to say, interestingly enough, I read a article just recently about how women respond to photos as opposed to guys, and this is only a portion of. I mean, the profile, if you decide you want to try the site out, you go and you answer questions about your faith, about what you're looking for in a date, in a partner, and you know, potential spouse. And there's a lot of questions that are important, and people really use those to sort of decide who piques their interest and who they want to start communicating with. But you know, the photo thing, I read an article that said guys who don't smile get more attention from women, and women actually who smile get more guys that are interested. So there's something going on there. I don't know what it is.
Maybe you're always learning something new.
Always strong, silent, you know, look or something. Yeah.
That's okay. Do you have an online dating story? Please share it with us.
We have a lot of online dating stories. We actually just met up with one of our members who lives in New York City, and she's going to be getting married next year in 2015, and she met her future spouse on the site, and he was in Canada. And they were a few hours away, and she, you know, once again, as a friendship, and it took them a while because they were, I think they were about 5 hours away.
Yeah, they have a little distance.
So she said it was about 6 months or so before they first met up, and actually she met him and she brought her mom. And you know, like they all just kind of met up. It's not that she was young or he was flying in, and actually he was flying in with a friend of his was a priest. So you don't have to make it this, oh my goodness, this romantic one-on-one situation. You're meeting somebody. It could be a party. You could bring friends, go out socially. Maybe you have an event. So that's what happened for them, and well, plus, we're excited about their story.
Yeah, as I say, on the site, we also have a page of success stories.
All the different
that you can read
stories.
about. There's more detail. I had the opportunity a couple years ago to invite some people in California, and we took them to dinner, and we did some interviews, and we just wanted to see, you know, what made them tick, what attracted them, and it boiled down to their faith. I mean, that was the biggest attraction.
And if you are watching right now, and you use CatholicSingles.com, we would like for you to give us a call, 205-271-2980. If you have a story to tell about your own dating experience, 205-271-2980, or toll free, 800-221-9460. You're at home with Jim and Joy, and you make this show, so we want to hear from you.
So you might be out there and you might have some grandchildren, or you have a son or a daughter and you're saying, hey, did you try this? Do you think that people get referred to your site from family members because they're wanting their children to get married?
We did have one letter from a gentleman, an older gentleman who was widowed, and he was in his early 70s. His daughter had met somebody on the site. So he went on the site and he met somebody.
Wow.
So
it's not just the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of nice. And sometimes, you know, people, they always write in or share their stories. Sometimes they'll show their pictures, and like David said, we post them on the site. So you can, those are all true success stories on our site.
And it's fun. Sometimes we run into people just randomly.
Yes.
I mean, you know, usually in a Catholic setting, but we were at a dinner, wedding reception a couple years ago. And the couple across from us met on the site, and they're like, "Really? You guys are
so neat."
And just you know, out of the blue, and that's happened. I've had friends tell me, "Oh yeah, we recommended it," and we have a question actually as people sign up. Where did you hear about us? A lot of it is referrals. So you know.
Now you mentioned in the profile that there are questions and an essay. You
Yes.
write. What's the essay?
I'll have you
Well,
explain.
yeah, essentially the profile will develop as you answer a bunch of multiple choice questions. Part of it though is essays, and we also have a personality test that we had a Catholic resource help develop with us, and lots of Catholic questions are in there as well. But the essay portion in particular, I mean, you can like the same kind of activities like baseball games or going to the movies. You might have a similar background with your upbringing. For example, we'll ask, did you grow up in a Catholic home or not necessarily mixed Christian, home? And we'll get to the essay question where people can elaborate, because one of the things we know is that people want to get a little bit more in depth into somebody's personality to pique their interest even more than just sort of the face and the location and that kind of thing. So one of the questions that we ask is, what does it mean to you to be Catholic?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think really because, we're in this country where we have a broad definition of the word sometimes, whether it's cultural or whatever, and questions like that really bring out what your faith truly means to you. And I think a lot of people, once they get past the multiple choice part and start to read a little bit more about somebody, they'll go, oh yeah, that's a little bit more about how I share my faith.
Right.
It's not just 1, 2, 3 and you picked a number. So I think those kind of things are very important. And then, like I said, we do have this compatibility test that we use to cross-reference each other, and we have a little score, and it'll say like, what's your Catholic quotient? And it just brings together a little component that I think people are really after, because ultimately why someone would come to our site per se over, say, a secular site is really that their faith is probably the number one or two thing in their life, and that's what they're really hoping to get someone on the same page with. So.
Which is so important, because it's kind of like, how Catholic are you?
Yeah.
Are you Catholic in name only?
Yeah.
And am I just going to go here because maybe I'll make my mother happy? I'm going to find a good Catholic girl, but my faith, I go to church twice a year.
And there's a question: do you attend Mass daily?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody said, that I go for Christmas and Easter, and then they talk about their faith, you kind of know if that's really what you want, or you want somebody that goes daily.
But you allow their answers to stand.
Oh yeah.
So when I was thinking about this, I was saying, well, maybe there's a requirement to get on in terms of you defining what it means to be Catholic. But you're saying there may be some of that, but they're able really to say how deep they are into the faith, or they can say, I'm a holiday kind of season Catholic. I go, and you let that stand, because the other person needs to know you can't define for them what they're saying.
If we didn't ask those questions, and they really, really wanted to get on our site or some other site, they would be able to sort of manipulate how they presented themselves. This way, I think we get more of an honest,
that's good.
Insight into the person. So.
Some people want to get back to the faith.
Right.
Some people are saying, well, this is, and that's why they're on the site, because they're trying to get, closer.
And you're trying to find a mate to say, I want to take this journey with somebody.
Exactly.
And I want to go deeper with the Lord, but this is how I've been. But and the beautiful thing is that people are older, that usually, like you said, the dating pool dries up after college, and it is kind of scary. You get out of college and your friends, everybody disappears, everybody goes into the career world, and if you don't find your mate, where are you going to find her? And so how is the church ministering to Catholic singles? How do you, what's happening to Catholic singles in parishes and in a diocese?
That's a good question, but
I think that's part of what we address. I mean, we try to educate and do some ministry on the site. Going back to the questionnaire, for example, there's a couple of places where we'll say, well, this is what it means to be eligible to marry, for example. This is what it means for a couple of different topics, and we'll say this is what the church explains and their position. And we also have some resources. We do apologetics. We have a section where we have Q&As. We have a priest who's a chaplain.
Good.
So we have people coming in that may be more cultural at the time, that may get more back into their faith. I know that a lot of people that I've spoken to over the years, they start going to sites like ours, and they're like, well, I really want to reconnect. And if we have a little bit of a hand in that, I think it's a blessing. So whatever we can do to bring people together, I mean.
Because something you just said, a lot of times when you're in church, you back of the bulletin, you have your young adult group, and you have your, it'll say singles, and it'll say 60 and over.
Right.
You know, we're meeting down at the grill this week. You don't have a lot for that middle group. A lot of career-minded people who are out there, 30s, 40s, 50s.
And families really are what most, you know, most of the ministry is aimed at, and for good reason.
Yes.
I think that the church will minister to the youth, like we talked about, and other groups, the families in particular, with the kids going to the schools and that kind of thing. But it's not something that has maybe enough attention just yet, because it's such a varied age group. I don't think if people realize that we were talking about singles, we're not talking about kids in their 20s or even younger. We're talking about 30s, 40s, and 50-year-olds that are really in need, and this is something that we try to, I guess, fill the gap, you know.
Joe, I think
we have someone on the phone. We have Caroline. Caroline, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for David or Tricia?
Hi, my name's Carolyn McGuire, and my husband and I met on Catholic Singles 14 years ago. We married in 2000. I was an attorney. He worked for Verizon, and I lived in New Jersey. He lived in New York, so we probably would not have met otherwise. So we, in any event, we married in our late 30s. We went on to have 2 beautiful children, 2 girls, Mary and Emily. And then we found out that we were going to have a 3rd child, and I was sitting at my desk one day, and my doctor called, and she said, you know, I need to tell you that there's a 1 in 10 chance that your child's going to have trisomy 18. And I asked her, what's trisomy 18? And she said, well, it's incompatible with human life. Trisomy 21 is Down syndrome. Trisomy 18 is Edwards syndrome. Kids with trisomy 18 seldom live very long. They may live seconds. I think the oldest living trisomy 18 child that I know about lives to be maybe 20, but that's very unusual. So in any event, the first thing we did was go to our priest, and we knew that Elizabeth was going to come into the world and be sick, very sick. And, you know, I had to carry her all that time, knowing that she might not even take a breath. And she was actually born on December 20th in 2006, and we brought her home. We were able to bring her home. My youngest daughter used to say, Mommy, I just want her to come for one night for a sleepover.
Precious.
So she got to come for a sleepover and stay for 3 months. And she passed away on March 19th, 2007, St. Joseph's Feast Day. And in between, she touched an awful lot of people. And she also made a lot of people question how they felt about pro-life issues and, you know, what is the value of human life. And she was a little celebrity, and we would have never traded that time. But I did go on to have severe depression and post-traumatic stress. Unfortunately, we witnessed her die in kind of a tragic way, and my husband's had to deal with my depression and all the grief, and our 2 little children and their grief. And I think had we not met on Catholic Singles and been really centered, we would not have made it through, because they tell you that a lot of families who lose a child, the parents wind up in divorce.
Carolyn, thank you so much. We thank you for this call, and you really understand what this show, which is really a family, is about. Thank you for trusting us with your joys and your sorrows. It's just absolutely beautiful. Give us a call. The rest of you out there, feel free to call us. I'm sure the number's up there on your TV as you're looking, or on the computer. We want you to join the show. That must be such a great blessing for you all. I mean, to hear this family, marriage and family being established, that they're walking through suffering and sorrow and seeing what's really important, and how your ministry, your apostolate, has really strengthened them in so many ways. It's wonderful.
It does. And you know, even with David and I, you know, having the same faith, we could get in an argument, be upset. We go to church on Sunday, we leave laughing. I mean, we're like, okay, like everything is okay. Our faith is centering us. It's what it's about, and it really does help you get through those difficult times. It's supposed to.
And Carolyn shared so beautifully. I mean, it was in Catholic Singles here, she anchored her faith with another soulmate, and so that happens in life. You know, there are trials, there are sufferings. We dealt with a client like that at our center, but to have that and to have that support and that strength, and to know that God will bring her and a whole family through, and she will be with her baby one more time in heaven for all eternity. You know.
Yeah.
So you were sharing, Dave, that I don't know if you use the word community, but it really does seem like a community.
Yeah.
And so it's not just getting, you know, compatibility and getting matched up, like you said. There's kind of direction, there's apologetics, sharing what the faith is about, defending the faith, what your faith means, and maybe you have some direction for them or kind of coaching. And all that's really important and really stayed with this family.
That's what's important. I mean, as we developed the site over the years, the sense of community that I had in college with my group of Catholic friends and all through, you know, my younger years, that's really the foundation. And, you know, ultimately what we want to do is help bring families, Catholic families together.
Right.
You start out single, but, you know, the goal is to be a Catholic family stronger than you were before.
Right.
And having these resources and having all these other things on the site really, we have chat rooms and things, that really brings together that sense that
And we get in the chat room. I mean, I get in there. I talk to the members. You know, a lot of sites, you know, some of these bigger sites and they're corporate. I don't know how many people who are actually running the site get in there and talk to their members. I love to hear from them. You know, I'm going to be meeting one, hopefully this Saturday. We're doing a blood drive in Los Angeles and inviting all our members to come to Providence St. Joseph Hospital. That's okay to plug that. Come on and down. And I'm going to get to meet some of our members. And I love that. So, you know, maybe our site helps bring someone into their life and they get married, but if it doesn't, maybe they met a new friend. Maybe just this sense of community is helping them through this time, this journey of singlehood.
And part of that is that you think you're the only single Catholic person out there. Like everybody's
Well,
married. You go to church.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you go into some churches, everybody's married, and you're that one man out, right? Or that one woman out. And so you say, okay, this is my community because look at all these other people. They're Catholic and they're single, so it's not just me.
No.
You know, which is important.
And our mantra has always been faith, fellowship, and love. You know, in whatever order. That's you're going to be single for a while. Obviously, so you need your tools, you need resources and things, and that's kind of what we try to help with.
And embrace that time.
We have an email. So the question is, I know that honesty is the best policy, but what should you leave out of your profile without seeming dishonest? And this is Marilyn from White Plains, New York.
Okay, White Plains, I grew up in Carmel, so. Do you want to take that one first? Or?
Well, you know, you should be as honest as possible. But you don't reveal everything. I mean, if you met somebody in person, if you're at a job interview, for example, you're not going to tell everybody your worst traits right off the bat. So, I mean,
they'll find the mountains on.
We've all got our quirks. Exactly. Everybody's eccentric to some degree. So, you know, you got to really highlight what you love about yourself, what you think somebody else is going to like and love about yourself, and talk about those kind of things. The other stuff will come up eventually, you know. And like I said, you put your best foot forward. You put a nice photo, and you talk about all the good things in your life, and you know what you bring to the table. And it really, that's what'll interest somebody. You know, that's what'll pique their curiosity and want. And if something develops from there, whether it's a friendship or whatever, that's the starting point. That's where you begin. Yeah,
and I think David raised a good point about, you know, how much to reveal about yourself personally. And then there's also safety issues. Just like if you met anybody out socially or in a bar, you're not going to tell them your address, where you live, or have somebody pick you up on the first date. Get to know this person. Go out and meet them. Take your own cars. Bring your friends. And meet each other's people in their lives first before you go to that next level. And that's with anybody. You could be at the library and meet somebody. And we tell people that as they join. We give them some tips on. So tell us about some of those safety things that you say. Well, you know, like she said, you know, tell somebody where you're going.
If you can do it during the day in a nice public place, like we met tons of people around, you know, we could go get coffee. I always tell people, you know, maybe you carve out an hour or two on the first time you meet, and that should be great. Because if you know, hey, if it didn't work out, you spend a nice hour or two with somebody you got to know. If it did, that's a good starting point, and you go back later. But always let somebody know where you're at. You know, be safe. Don't give too much personal info right away. And that's just sort of the common sense kind of things that we really stress. And we email everybody that when they first join, so they know. You don't want to give somebody, you know, too much. Too much information can be either drive somebody away anyway because they don't get it, or there's no mystery. You want to have a little bit there.
Also, I think an important fact you mentioned about people, maybe they're not 2 hours away and they can't meet up, and they're a little long distance, so they have a longer relationship of more of a pen pal and getting on the phone. And if somebody asks you for money because they want to come visit you, that is a red flag. I mean, and most people know that, but you know, there's some people out there, you see it on Dateline and all those places, and they go through their bank accounts. No. And you may think you've grown to know this person, but I think that's a number one taboo. If somebody is going to meet you
that's why it's important,
and they have a lot of integrity, they will find the way and the means. I have friends who lived over 6 hours away, and you know, eventually he came down to meet her in Los Angeles. He put himself up in a hotel. They met at a public place. Even though he flew in, he didn't go to her house and meet her and pick her up. You know, and you want to say most people kind of know this, and it's common sense, but there's some people. But
not all.
No, and that's the kind of thing. You know, we talked about like how long, a month or two, depending on the distance, is good. Because eventually, you know, if somebody says, hey, I can't make it at the last minute, and it's continual, then you know, you kind of wonder. But generally speaking, when you have that good feeling about somebody, you make the effort to call them on the phone, get to know them a little bit, and then you meet in a nice, safe, you know, place. And you always let somebody know where you're at.
And you do background checks? Or do people do background checks?
It's all self-reported. Yeah, people can do background checks on their own, but you know, not to talk too much about that, only because it's kind of a tricky situation. If you think about it, anybody could be on the other side of the computer. And there was a thing a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago talking about, well, maybe we can do more of this or that. The problem is you can never absolutely be certain who's on the other side. I mean, so to some degree, you can do a background check. I'd still caution people that if they do one, to still be to err on the side of caution, because you never know. And whether you met somebody in a bar or a restaurant or even at church in some cases.
You don't know who you're meeting. You don't know.
And even at that point, if you're going to invest, you know, a lot of time, you might talk to their friends and stuff. That's what's good about getting to know somebody, their family, their friends eventually. If you meet somebody for, say, 6 months and you're going out, you start to date and socialize, you know, get to know their coworkers, their family, that kind of thing. It's always a big help.
And usually they're going to be saying, he's a great guy, or be careful. You know what I mean? I mean,
that happens.
I
met a guy a couple years ago, and more of a business kind of thing, and his brother comes up to me and goes, hey, watch out for this guy. And he was serious. And I was like, oh, thanks. You know, give me some tips. Friends and family, they're
going to be your best read.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we got a caller from Michigan. Jim, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment?
Hello.
Go right ahead. Welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy.
Yes, I just had a question. Our church has a site that says Catholic Match, and then I see your Catholic Single. I'm a recent widower, unfortunately, so I'm going after this at a snail's pace, but I'm in my early 60s and still active, and I just felt that maybe at some point I'd like to meet somebody again with the same strong faith as I do, so I didn't know if one site looked at people in this age group more than others, and what your recommendations were.
I think both sites do. They're a reputable site too.
To be honest with you, pretty much all websites nowadays that deal with online dating at all cater to pretty much any age group, because there's, I think I mentioned earlier, we're in a place where there's more singles than marrieds right now, and it's all age groups. It's 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, up to 80s. So, you know, take the chance when you're ready. Don't feel pressured. I mean, being single, there are ways and times to embrace it, and you know, try it if you like. You know, you can kind of see what's out there, and if your faith's important, like it sounds like it is, our site might be the one to try.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like there's so many nuances to being single these days. You know, like he's lost his wife, he's working through his own grief. You know, maybe I want to get back in. And then you've got divorced people. How do you deal with divorced Catholics, and is the marriage annulled or not in the conversation? And or then you've got people in their 30s and 40s that are single, they haven't been married, they're not divorced, they're just 30, 40, 50 and haven't been married. And how does that all work its way out in the profiling conversations?
Yeah, I mean, that's the conversation.
Especially if they're divorced.
Right,
How does that?
Well, of course, one of the questions that we have is whether you're eligible, and we explain for marriage eventually, explain the Catholic Church's position on annulments and that kind of thing, and we give resources for that. So
a person doesn't have to have had an annulment. They can say, you know, I'm divorced. This is the point where I'm at in this.
Exactly.
And
fellowship.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
meeting other people who are divorced and maybe haven't gone through an annulment. Maybe they both talk to each other. Maybe it's a process they want to go through at the same time.
Yeah.
I had a friend that, same thing, who met her husband, and he hadn't gone through the annulment process yet, and they were dating, and then he started the annulment process.
Yeah, and we're kind of in that place right now where, with Pope Francis commenting on this, you know, what the rules are going to be in the future. I mean, we talk about annulments, and I mean, two divorced Catholics that are very good Catholics that may, in this journey, decide, well, we want to get to the next level, we want to get married, and they'll go and consult with their local priest or parish and decide what's right for them, if they need to get the annulment, and how to go about doing it correctly. And who knows what you know the process will be. If it's, I guess, what streamlined is to some degree. A lot of people are talking about that as well. So,
and you may meet in the chat room, and you might be able to talk to a fellow member. Maybe it's you know, the chat room. It's not always a guy talking to a girl. It's a group, and there may be other women and saying, hey, have you done this yet, or you know, sharing their experience. But I think that's where the community part comes in. Like we're talking about, the dialogues are open, and people start talking about where they're at in their journey, whether they're ready for marriage, or they're really hungering for fellowship at this point to get reconnected to their faith. Like our caller, it's a first step to meet somebody new. Maybe he'll meet somebody else who's widowed as well, and has gone through that experience.
And we're in the holiday season right now too, so that's a whole other you know.
Well, you're doing a tremendous work in uniting people together. Joy and I often say that we believe that marriage and the family is God's plan to transform the world. And CatholicSingles.com, your great work, is really giving momentum to that hope. More and more married people, the building of family, those who are truly called to the single, consecrated life, that's their calling, that's a blessing. But we're grateful for what you're doing. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for having us.
Well, when we come back, we'll be joined by Father John Paul and Joan Lewis, so don't go away. You're at home with Jim and Joy, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, right now on the set we have with us Father John Paul. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
At home with Jim and Joy. You kind of took a little detour there. You went places, or you just got busy?
A couple conferences. I visited home. We get a home visit every year, so I visit home for 16 days. So I was away a couple places, but I'm happy to be grounded.
Good.
You know, not on an airplane or something.
Well, good. We're glad that you're back.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to Joan Lewis and see what she has to tell us from Rome. We're so looking forward to hear all the riches and treasures that she has to share with us. Joan Lewis. Hi, Joan.
good to be back with you. And you know, this is a beautiful time of year here in Rome, as you can imagine, and a very big time, especially on Monday, the Feast of the Immacolata, the Immaculate Conception, a huge holiday in Italy, and for families to be together. I don't think I've seen this many strollers in the last year. In any event, also, the Pope naturally draws big crowds, St. Peter's Square for the Angelus. Then in the afternoon, when he prays before an icon of Mary at St. Mary Major, and after that, goes to the Spanish Steps, where he says a prayer and gives a floral tribute to the statue of the Immaculata there. And then just a few days before that, the Pope sent a message to what's called the Festival of Families. It was a 5-day gathering in northern Italy, Lake Garda, and he said the future of humanity passes through the family, and the family must be allowed to play its role. And very specifically, he said, the family has its own mission in the service of its members, its development, its life. It has rights and therefore needs support and guarantees to exercise them, but it also has duties to the community. And families need appropriate assistance from the community. And very importantly, on women's work, the Pope said, we must ensure that for economic reasons, women are not compelled to undertake too heavy a burden or accept excessive working hours that would detract from the time they should spend as a wife, as a mother with their families. And he said, women's work constitutes an unparalleled contribution to the family and the future of society. Well, that's it from Rome. Back to you, Jim and Joy.
Well, that was wonderful. And you know, it was one of the things that Joan said that I loved, because we went to Rome twice. We had the beautiful privilege of being at Rome twice. And I said to Jim, both times we were there, where are the children? I never saw children in Rome, right? I was like, we didn't see children. We didn't see mothers. And everybody's car is about as big as the sofa. I mean, the cars are so small. Yeah, they're smart cars, but there's no people in the cars. There's no family.
And that's not too smart.
And that ain't too smart.
Cars,
that's not God's plan.
No.
So that was wonderful.
You know, Pope Francis said something about, you know, the family having a mission. You know, don't we all have a mission? You know, first of all, for holiness. And Trish and Dave's show was so powerful, I think, and their witness, you know, because that group, 30s, 40s, and 50s, that's a very important group to minister to in a church, and sometimes they're forgotten. And I think that, you know, they're taking it upon themselves, like Dave took it upon himself to create this website, you know, and he, you know, in creating this website, he met his wife. You know, it's such a wonderful thing. And so we need to think about more creative ways. People in their 30s, 40s, and 50s need to think about ways to reach out, you know, new initiatives to start in their own parishes themselves. You know, maybe they might need to start you wouldn't call it a young adults group anymore. You would call it, you know, I don't know what you would call it, 30s, 40s, 50s group.
You'd call it Catholic singles.
Yeah, you could.
Because everybody falls into that age group, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. And I would say, you know, as far as, you know, I was mentioning to someone earlier that, you know, to bring St. Raphael into the picture, because St. Raphael, I've heard at least, is like a patron saint of finding your spouse. To ask St. Raphael to assist you in finding a good spouse, or to know your vocation first of all. What am I called to in
Goes
this
back to
life?
the book of Tobit. Right? Was that St. Raphael there? And work that marriage to come about. Yeah, that's powerful. This conversation with the Nevarezes, so much of what they're doing on site in terms of a profile, what makes you Catholic? What do you think about being a Catholic? I mean, that's a question that you're supposed to answer, writing an essay. And I'm just thinking everybody needs to do that if they're thinking about meeting someone. And how often, unfortunately, I've met with people that come together, and it may be weeks or months or maybe even years before they have a real spiritual conversation and really know who they are. But I think it needs to begin there. You're Catholic or I'm Catholic. What does it mean for you to be Catholic? What are your expectations regarding spirituality? What are your expectations just regarding family and marriage, and if you do get married, in-laws and so on. So I think that's a real strong part of what they're doing, and that there's too many people who are meeting and never having these conversations. At least you're having them up front. I think that one of the difficulties and problems, and I'm glad to hear them say, you know, you need to get together face to face. It's a disembodied experience for the first couple of weeks, right? I mean, you're not there face to face. On the other hand, you got these embodied experiences like hooking up or just meeting somebody and not speaking about the most important things, and not thinking, you know, what's your value system? What's your hierarchy of values? Because that's really what they're doing. So putting these both together, finally having that embodied experience, which they encourage. You know, you don't want to go ad infinitum, not meeting and just talking and sharing. On the other hand, you don't want to meet someone.
7 months, a year, you can't go that long.
You haven't spoken about the most important things.
Father, what is your advice to dating?
Well, I haven't done it in a while, but I'm very happy about that. I found my vocation.
Yes.
But anyway, I would say first of all to, you know, especially for Catholic, you know, Catholic grandparents and parents to start teaching their kids from a very young age to pray for their spouse.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever heard that? You know, have you ever told? You know,
did it.
You know,
We did it.
to tell your kids, you know, start praying for your spouse. Start praying for the one that you are to marry. You know, because he or she is out there somewhere, and pray that the Lord protect them. You know, and somehow to lead them. You know, lead them to you, and most of all to pray. You know, is that my vocation?
Right.
You know,
am I to marry?
Am I to marry? You know, maybe I'm called to be a priest or a sister. You know, that's a very you know, valid possibility, and to be open to that. And you know, like you said, Jim, not to wait till the last minute to talk about the essentials, to talk about values, to talk about, you know, your faith, getting married in the church, how are you going to raise your kids?
Right.
You know, these things are essential, and they should be at the beginning and not right before. Not as when you're meeting with Father, planning out your wedding.
That's right. Right. Well, and
that
the
happens
thing,
often. Right.
And the thing about David's and Trish's site, CatholicSingles.com, is that, you know, people who are on that site are serious now. You know, maybe they've done all the silly kind of dating that didn't work for them, and now they're, you know, so they want to really say, I need to laser this relationship, my profile, who I am, my expectations of a spouse, of a partner, and to really hone in on that with description.
Sure. Yeah, I heard one Catholic man who's been married now for some time, and he said, you know, as a part of my premarital training, as I see it now, an important thing for me is to look at a woman in particular and say, what kind of mother would she be? You know, and that's really, is that what we're thinking about when we meet? I mean, and only God can, you know, grant us the grace to have a child, but I mean, that has to be in the mix. Does this person even want to be a mother? Are children in the mix, or what's the expectation? I want one child and that's all the children that I want. These things are just so important, because where's this thing going if we don't have, what's the purpose of marriage? You know, our own uniting together for a mutual joy and benefit, for the having of children, facilitating God's plan for the other one's life, that I might help facilitate getting you to heaven. And you getting me to heaven. Marriage is not selfish. I mean, whenever selfish and self-centeredness enters into the picture, you know, that's where sin.
There's a fight.
There's a fight. You know, you know, that's where it enters. You know, we can't have that. Marriage is about self-giving. It's about giving of yourself, self-donation, self-sacrifice. Father, why don't you close us out with a prayer, keeping that in mind, what marriage is about. Sure. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the gift of marriage and the gift of children. We ask you bless all those who are discerning marriage, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the family here at EWTN. You're an important part of the family, and you're always at home with Jim and Joy. God bless you richly this Advent season. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.